Welcome, everybody, to episode 16 of the You Can't Comp This NBA podcast. I'm here with Adam Amy this week. As always, welcome, Adam. How are you today, mate?
Fantastic, mate. It's been a hectic week, that's for sure, but
Yeah,
definitely good times all
great.
around.
We've got a little bit to talk about this week. We're going to talk about Ja Morant and the current status of the hobby. We're going to talk about the Indiana Pacers and Tyrese Haliburton. We're going to discuss a little bit about De'Aaron Fox and his NFT situation. Why don't we get stuck in straight to Ja Morant and the card porn article that came out? This was on the 4th of March.
Yep.
And if you haven't read this already, we'll summarize it through. But I would probably also say, best yourself to have a read because it's very succinctly written and it really, I think, actually encapsulates exactly what's happening in the hobby at the moment. To quote, "The state of the card market right now can be best summarized by the current card values of Ja Morant, seriously struggling at the bottom end and hot as the sun at the top end." So what they're talking about is National Treasures RPAs, they're selling for $60K. And then some of his PSA 10 rookie cards, you're losing money on those, and they've gone from $830 down to $250. So
that was insane. Like
Yeah.
seeing that, and it does summarize things, I think, pretty well.
yeah,
Like you think about it in this at the moment with the way the league is, who's the one player that comes to mind straight away? If you're like who's the hottest property in basketball right now?
yeah.
Ja Morant.
I was talking to you this off air today. I feel as though every time I put on a podcast, every time I turn on NBA TV, anytime I go into my Twitter feed, he's just front and center at the moment. And he's really, really in my mind fuzz, essentially. And I just sort of can't get him out of my head at the moment. So I think for me, there's no one hotter at the moment than Ja Morant.
No, not at all. Like it's insane.
Yeah. And again, we sort of talked about a little bit this last week that we said, I think him going to the All-Star game is going to be really good for him because he'll get that sort of national attention. And I think hobby-wise, it's definitely going to be translating in that space.
Yep.
And it's interesting that he's come down from 830 down to 250 because in the last 3 months, he's up.
Oh, wow.
He's up 65% over the last 3 months. He's up 25% in the last 2 weeks. And in the last month, he's up 3%. So that's actually, to me, it makes me wonder if that was more about the sort of general, we had that huge sort of decline in the hobby in general. Like it wasn't just Ja Morant. Like that was, well across the board.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, look, the thing is, and I guess the high end and the low end are very different groups of people. That's probably the most succinct way to say it.
Yeah.
We've got different collectors.
Yeah.
And it's not black and white. There's not just two split groups.
Yeah.
There are layers to it, and that's why Panini release a variety of products at a variety of price points.
Yeah, which I think they do at a genius level, by the way.
Yes. Now they've also increased production in some areas and over the years, and we're starting to see that the base prism isn't what it once was or what it was perceived to be.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Look,
why that would be?
Like what the 782,000 Lucas and Zions that are.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like everybody has access to these cards, and there's lots of them around.
Yeah. So there's a lack of scarcity.
Yeah, that's it's interesting when I've been looking at a few different sales threads on pages and things recently, and when I was trying to check comps on my own stuff to put it up for sale, like how do you gauge what a card is worth?
Yeah,
or a graded card, very specifically, because if it's a grade that's hard to find.
Yeah.
Is it a Luca that's a Gem Mint 10? Because they're very easy to find. It's the population report. So not many people delve into the population report. And I've seen a few people on sales saying the reason I'm selling this card for so much is because the population of this grade of this card is low. And that actually makes it a lot more collectible. You know what I mean? Like if I've got a Kobe that's numbered to 5, and I'm trying to move that, I'm not going to have it on par with the numbered to 200 version, like the numbered to 199.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'll use population reports and I don't want to digress too much about it, but if I've got a BGS 9 Kobe that's numbered to 5,
Sure.
right? A lot of people see BGS 9. The other, so we'll say 3 of the 5 have also been graded. They got a 7.5, an 8.5, and an 8.
Mm-hmm.
So currently, there's one of those 5 that hasn't been graded, and I am possessing the one that has got the highest grade.
Yeah.
What does it make that card worth? Do you see like where the perception is?
Yeah.
I guess. And look, I mock and ridicule the number of Zions and Lucas, and I'm sure there's going to be Mellows, and you know what I mean. And Ja Morant's coming back.
Yeah.
With ridiculous population reports where the Silver Prism probably won't have the insane high volumes, but like base Prism, there's thousands upon thousands of them.
Yeah.
So it's like they're not as rare and collectible.
Yeah.
Is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
And it's all perception. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with most of what you said. I think the only thing I would just add to that is that, so if we use the Ja Morant as an example,
mm-hmm.
we'll use a variant that's unnumbered. So let's say the red, white, and blue.
Yes. Okay.
So there's less of the red, white, and blues than the silvers.
Uh-huh.
And to a degree, they're a little bit of a tough grade to get a 10 on. So sometimes I think people will also use, say, PSA 10, and they'll count the pop report, say, oh, there's 10 of these. And they're almost using the grading process to create another way to number a card. But that card's not numbered. So even if the person says, oh, the population of this is 10, well, it doesn't mean there's only ever going to be 10 of this card. So I think sometimes I think that can be a little bit misleading, or maybe even like sort of selling snake oil a little bit, because then in maybe one more year, actually, there's not going to be 10, there's going to be 20. And then the year after that, maybe there's going to be 30. So I think a little bit of buyer beware when people sort of try and sell you on that sort of, point of like, oh, well, there's only 3 of these cards. Well, hang on a second. Actually, there's 20,000 of these. And at the current present time, there's only 3 of these that have been graded to PSA 10. So I think that to me is an important, thing to clarify.
Yeah.
When you're talking about numbering before of like low numbered cards, I have to be honest with you, the grade of that card to me is almost like irrelevant. And the grading company.
If it's numbered to 5.
No, I'm serious.
Whatever,
So I don't want to keep talking about my own collection of De'Aaron Fox, but this is just the example that comes to my head. I bought recently a De'Aaron Fox rookie autograph numbered to 5.
Mm-hmm.
It's SGC graded, and it's graded to, I think, 8 or 8.5. Like I genuinely, I don't care. I have no intention of getting it reslabbed. Like I'm just happy that I own
that card.
A very low numbered De'Aaron Fox on card auto rookie. Like it's as simple as that for me.
Yeah.
So I think, will someone share the same sentiment as me when I'm reselling it in the future? No, definitely not. And I probably expect that, it'll almost be held against me. But
yeah.
I think at the same time, if there's only 5 of something, you do have to be somewhat judicious when you're sort of, going ahead and buying this stuff. Like,
that's true. That's true. It's look, I can't help myself. I've been on Card Ladder while you were talking about the red, white.
So you should have been. Yeah.
I'm actually looking at the population report for the Ja Morant rookie red, white, blue, and it's actually the population is 858. Last sold for $475 US.
Yeah.
So interesting that you're right.
Sorry, I should have said that. I was just making up numbers then.
Yeah, no, I'm curious to like relativity wise. It's Orange Ice. There we go.
I think we've segued hugely again, and
we do this a lot.
If we go back to,
we're still on Ja Morant. That's a positive,
and the context of what's happening in the current hobby at the moment. But I think one thing we do need to mention here is I think COVID has ended, and I think as much as that was a driver of people hopping into the hobby, I would say COVID ending and essentially getting their real lives back is also a driver of people getting out. So then you're seeing,
Oh, I like where you're coming from with
yeah,
this.
I
Yeah.
think you're seeing a
Yep.
lot more cards, being sold. And again, like what you were saying before about, there's different types of collectors. I probably suspect the vast number of people were buying low end cards
Yep.
that
And it
sort of
was a
came
fad.
into
It
that.
was it was a fad. It was something
Yeah.
to do through COVID, through lockdown, through isolation.
Yeah.
They're off it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
And then I think the other thing that we really need to, mention too is like the PSA shutdown. That has
Yeah.
had a dramatic effect on people flipping, buying, grading, flipping cards. Like, and I think even though yes, we're starting to see some subs come back, we're still not seeing the number of subs that we need because
Oh, the
essentially,
waves of people aren't.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
you're right.
they're still not coming back. And I think when those cards start to come back, we'll see more hobby money coming back because a lot of money is held up, is being tied up for people. So, and
Yeah.
that money they sell the cards and they buy more cards, and that's that sort of whole thing is going through.
Perpetual
Yeah,
perpetual loop. Yeah, that
and
makes
I
sense.
I think that definitely has affected this sort of current situation.
Yeah.
And then that sort of really high end stuff, though. What's your thoughts about that? Like, because we saw that Jordan card, sell during the pandemic, and
Well, high
that
end.
was sort of said to be like $1 million card, and like,
So all right. So I suppose I know it's rude to answer a question with a question, but
no, that's
who
fine.
do you think these collectors are? Is it Mark Wahlberg? Like when we went through the manifesto, and
Yeah,
it's just like,
yeah.
yeah, like,
I'm sure he's got a pretty sweet collection. Look,
yep,
there's people in the hobby that collect in this space. I
yep, of course.
I would, if anyone would like to talk to me about this, even if they spoke to me in confidence about it, I do think that investment firms are buying cases and cards.
Ooh,
Um, because I think, if you're building up someone's portfolio and you're diversifying it, and I'm using air quotes there, like, why can't you buy into something that's super high risk like this? Like, I don't think that.
could you imagine? You go to a finance broker, and they're like, "You need to get on these NBA these sports cards. You need to buy rookie cards of these players."
I
And
think,
this is their solid advice. Like I'm talking like 5 years ago or something. But
yeah,
can you imagine the fortune you would have made?
I think sealed cases would be easier to make a case about.
You just buy. I just get cases of Prism.
And single cards, I think that would be much harder to explain to a client. But
I don't know. Buy Jordan. Yeah,
Jordan's easy. That Kobe's easy.
Kobe,
Yeah,
LeBron.
yeah, that's right. Maybe Ja
Yep.
Morant. You know that I
Yeah,
think.
I laugh about that. And look, I thought about this after the hobby hangout. I went, who if I was to start another real PC of a
Yeah,
player that I really that sort of had the same appeal as Kobe did,
yeah.
and doesn't necessarily have to be a Laker. Like I'm looking at it, and Ja Morant is kind of the way he's taking over the league is it's Ja. I do like Ja Morant, but I
Just
know I've missed the boat.
just sounds to me like he's creeping into your mind space too, mate.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep, yep. He's it's really hard to avoid him.
yeah,
Let's be real, like.
yeah.
Everybody, as you said, every podcast is talking about Ja. So
Yeah.
we are no different. But
Iverson was on Instagram recently with his MVP trophy and then the Morant singlet on top of that. So that was
Yep.
Iverson's way of giving him a shout out. And the other tasty bite I found on the net this week was that the top 5 highest scoring averages
Mm-hmm.
in your age 22 season. First is Shaq at 29.3, Carmelo at 28.9,
Mm-hmm.
Kobe at 28.5, Durant at 27.7, and Ja at 27.6. So possibly he could, slide into fourth.
Yep.
And I think when I was reading this list, the thing that was really going through my head was, hobby relevance. And maybe the most irrelevant person in that list is Carmelo Anthony,
Yeah.
which
This
is
is
a
true.
pretty sweet list when you think about it.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah. So I think I'm probably using this to, reinforce the thought that I've already got in my head. But at the same time, I think if you're still considering, buying into him and you're still, looking, and I think that's something you can definitely use to sort of, reassure yourself.
Yeah, yeah. It's yeah, Ja Morant's now well and truly on my radar, we'll
Yeah,
say. And he should be on everyone's radar. The guy's very impressive. This is literally it's a breakout. It's when they talk about breakout years, like it's the when Giannis had a breakout and then he went. There were like 3 seasons where he just got better and better and better, and it was like, how much better can this guy get?
yeah,
Yeah, I feel like this is what's happening with Ja Morant, because
yeah.
we've seen what he's capable of, and this year he just seems to get like taking it further and further.
Yeah.
So yes, yeah. If every podcast out there is talking about it, there's a reason for it. Get on Ja Morant before you miss out.
So, if you had to choose between a BGS 9.5 and a PSA 10, so the last sold BGS 9.5 was 230. PSA 10 last sold for 300. What would you lean towards in that space?
Are we talking base? Are we?
Yep, sorry, base.
On the base.
And probably keeping in mind too, realistically crossing over a card from BGS 9.5 to PSA 10 is essentially ruled out at the moment just due to like the time it takes to grade and the cost that it takes to grade. So
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting there are no BGS 10s.
what does that make you think?
That I'd be very keen to get my hands on a BGS 10.
Yeah.
Given that the population, well, you even look at it, it's interesting that the population of a BGS 9.5 is 5,000, right? And we're almost at 20,000 for PSA 10.
Yeah.
Food for thought. Food for thought, for sure. The blue ice to 199, I'm not even going to start.
No, go.
Wow. Last one sold for 23K. Blue ice to 199, PSA 10, population 6.
That is a delicious looking card, and it's also coloured match too. So
Yeah, I think that's what drew my eye to it.
yeah,
But yeah, it's interesting that the PSA 10's 23K and the BGS 9.5 is only 5,750.
yeah. I mean, only like
I say only, don't I? Yeah.
Look,
Yeah,
interesting.
it's interesting. Yeah, you
So
go on.
when you go back to the base,
Yep.
the growth on the PSA 10 is 71% in the last 3 months. The growth on the 9.5 is 141%. So I think that's actually, for me, is something that I definitely bank on because I think in the future, so for example, Luca, anything that's numbered, it's a Luca rookie, and even if it's a lower grade, I think moving forward into the future, as the PSA 10s and the BGS 10s just go completely out of people's reach, I think you're going to see a lot more percentage growth in these sort of like lower graded cards. So, look,
So, all right. So I've got another question now.
I think people that discount BGS 9.5s is really missing a piece of the market.
There is a All right. So I'm only doing. What about the alternate? What is it? Layup.
Yep. So they
Would you
come out
rather
of
the base or the alternate?
I mean, I do like those. They come out of the fast break boxes.
Mm.
I am definitely a fan of those, but it does also come down to price. So they are dramatically higher than just the regular base. What's the price difference between those?
They're 400 and something for the base, but the population is so much. That's a 10 PSA 10. So just
so it's about $100 more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, so all right, so that, and this is just to kind of pose that like for like kind of question.
Yeah, sure.
All right, so you've got a base Ja Morant.
Yeah.
Right. Number 249 base PSA 10 that you could buy right now for $300, right? 300 US.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll go layup. Okay. PSA 10 that you could buy for $450 US. Which do you buy and why? Because I am buying the layup.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I think that's
based on population.
Yeah.
Like, I think that separation.
But to be honest, so those cards, I don't try and buy the base. I try and buy the fast break.
The variant.
Yeah.
Because there's less of it.
Well, the parallel. Just because.
Yeah. Is there a LaMelo parallel?
Yeah, definitely. Just while you're looking that up, I'll just ask you sort of a second question.
Yep.
Again, we've like really digressed.
I
Is there
feel like
anything?
we haven't kind of digressed. I feel like we're actually looking at why or what where the value is for these lower end people, because we know everyone's jumping ship because COVID's over.
Well, that was what I was going to ask you. Did you want to add anything else to that sort of umbrella thing that we're talking about? So we're talking about high ends going up and bases going down.
Yeah.
Did you want to add anything else to that?
Look. I think we've hit all the points
Okay. Yeah.
fairly well.
Yeah, that's fine.
I probably close by saying this doesn't mean sell all your stuff. It just means don't expect crazy spikes when the player performs well at the lower end,
Yep.
because there are lots of those cards. You know what I mean? So, and we see it on trading pages all the time. People end up having to sell cards lower, and this is what happens in a supply-demand market, right? If there's more people playing down the bottom, the value goes down because there's more supply and not as much demand.
Yep.
Everyone thinks they can sell their cards. No one's buying.
Yeah.
So they have to sell them cheaper to get their money. Yeah.
Yeah.
At the higher end, right? Lower, less people, but less people that are prepared to move their stuff and negotiate because they know they've got something that is extremely rare and sought after.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, look, it is. It's taking your base Jordans down into the schoolyard as a kid versus having like premium inserts, right, in the 90s.
Yeah.
But yeah, look,
great. I'll let you keep.
Yeah, let's go and look at LaMelo Ball. But yeah, some of the variants don't even have like a notable difference when you go to Card Ladder. You can't find they've got the same number. So LaMelo is what, 278?
Yeah, they're not very well differentiated at all. And actually, funny you say that, because this year's Mosaic, the fast break variant in that actually has a V on the back to differentiate it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So for me, that makes it much easier when I'm going through and breaking, because if you're not exactly familiar with the pictures, you wouldn't know sometimes it's a variant until someone will tell you. Or now if you look on the back of the Mosaics, you'll see the little V on the back. So, yeah.
Wow. It's I don't know. Card Ladder's confused. I'm confused. I can't find the variant on Card Ladder, but that's
there might not be enough of them sold to be on there, because I'm just going through all the eBay sales at the moment. I found one out of maybe 100 Prism sales. So it last sold for 130 USD. That's just for the base variant.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Which is essentially $100 more than the regular
the regular one. Yeah.
All right. So I just found a bubbles one, or a fast break one, 192 USD. And that last sold on January the 27th. So essentially, nearly, a month and a bit, and it hasn't been sold since. That's actually super interesting.
Interesting with the variants.
The PSA 10 sold for 600 USD. I think that's a bargain.
Yeah, especially if they're super rare. That said, there might be a lot of them on their way back from PSA.
I don't know like how many of them there are, but I would say there's 10 times less of them compared to,
if not more. Yeah, you're probably
hobby,
right.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Because hobby, blasters, retail,
Yeah.
Or is it just fast break? Yeah. All right. Yeah. Move on?
Yes.
Okay. So the other thing that we wanted to talk about this week was the Indiana Pacers.
Yep. And so any Indiana Pacers out there, this is your moment.
I think
I'm gonna get roasted for this time. Last time I shouted out Aaron Holiday.
I hope you do. Please roast this guy.
Oh no.
So I think the thing that had been going through my mind with the Pacers is that it seems to me that they've got a history of trading stars away. So they've dealt away Paul George, they've dealt away Victor Oladipo, they've just recently now traded away Domantas Sabonis.
Yep.
And they did save money out of that deal. So I don't think that we can just pretend that, it was a great pickup getting Haliburton, but at the same time, there's also some salary cap management happening there. Yeah. And at that same deadline, they also flipped Karis LeVert for Ricky Rubio, which saved them another $18 million in future salary. So, the next thought I had was, well, when was the last time they paid luxury tax? And they haven't paid it since 2005. So that was the Ron Artest Steven Jackson, Jermaine O'Neal team. Like that's how long it's been
Yeah.
since those guys have paid luxury tax. So I think, bringing this back full circle, what does this mean for, hobby and the Indiana Pacers? I don't think, you can disagree with me and feel free to, but I don't think it's a bad thing if the person you PC gets traded to the Pacers, because I think Paul George's hobby value hasn't been affected by his time there. And
Yep.
I'd probably say Victor Oladipo, his hobby value isn't as low as what it is because of his time and where he got traded to afterwards because of the Indiana
Yeah.
Pacers. I think that's more injury history, to be honest.
I was going to say there are definitely other factors with Oladipo,
Yeah.
but you're right. Paul George, he wasn't happy, and they just sort of let him go. I think Halliburton's tearing it up in Indiana.
Yeah.
He's definitely not taking a backwards step with his time in Indiana. That's for sure.
Yeah. So I think, and that really does take us to Haliburton, because the way that he's playing in Indiana is just, it's really, really good. I think he's been completely, freed up from Fox, and the ball's in his hand a lot. I think when Malcolm Brogdon comes back, some of their sets are going to change. I think, the amount of time he's holding the ball is definitely going to change.
I think Brogdon's actually just sort of come back.
Did he? Okay, I watched a game the other day and he didn't play.
But yeah, you're right. But that's the thing. Like his role's going to change significantly when
maybe not significantly, but say 20, 25%, something like that. His usage might go down.
But still,
I think if you're looking to collect somebody, and even if you have no Haliburton in your collection and you're thinking about it, I would say watch a few games. Watch the kid play, see how you like him, and then start going through his, sales history to sort of get a grasp of what's going on. If you do check out Card Ladder, though, the thing that you cannot go past, look at his silver prices. It's literally just like a yo-yo going up and down. So I think when someone's that volatile, actually, for me, that's really good, because that means that you can just put some lower bids in and, hope that you get it on the low.
Yeah, that's true. That's very, very true.
And I'm not going to lie to you, there's nothing better, for me than getting something for, 10 or $20, lower than what someone else has paid for it. Like, I love that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So, look, I think Haliburton's still a really good buy. I think
I think he's definitely a good buy. There's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah. Skill-wise, he's got it there. I think size, he's totally fine. And he doesn't seem the type of dude that is particularly injury prone. Some guys just look like they can play basketball to their 40, and some guys you kind of look at them, you're like, I don't think you're going to make it to your 30,
Yeah. Look, yeah. I mean, it's early days, but he definitely looks the goods.
Yeah.
I guess the other question, the other player down there that got traded away as part of this is Sabonis.
Yeah.
What do you think his time in Indiana did for his value now that he's gone to, I guess, not a big market?
He's gone not to a big market, or he was not in a big market?
He's not in a big market, and he's gone to a team that's also not really a big market. Like Sacramento have been okay, but then they're they're not the Warriors, they're not the Lakers, they're not, the Clippers aren't a market.
So I think, like, market-wise, I think he was in a small market and he's gone to another small market. That's really, nothing's changed there. I think what has changed for that man is, though, he's gone from the Eastern Conference to the Western Conference. Yeah. And the Western Conference forward center position is pretty stacked. So I would say the probability of him being an all-star again is incredibly low. So if that was propping up his card value, and it probably was, to be honest.
Yep.
I don't think you're going to see another, say, 20% rise the next time he gets, named to be an all-star. So, look, I think if you're collecting Sabonis, if you wait 12 months, you're probably going to see a bit of a slide down, because they're not going to make the playoffs this year.
Yeah, that's true.
I'd say next year they're probably not going to make the playoffs again. From my point of view,
does he get traded? Is he a piece now?
I actually think the Kings traded for him because they wanted him. And
okay,
I really think that he and Fox fit together and play together well. So the Kings season this year has been an absolute, disaster. That, they fired their coach, they've traded away a pretty decent piece, and then I think realistically they were hoping to make the playoffs this year, or at least the play-in game. So
it's pretty tough.
Today's the best example. Like, they were beating the Mavericks by 20 points and then lose to them by 4 points without Luka. Like, it's just such a Kingsy, thing to do. And I think this season's just been an absolute disaster. So
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
I don't think Sabonis is going to get any uptick in his value at all. I actually think he's going to go down. Now he's been traded to the Kings. So
Yep.
I think to answer your question, it's worse for his card value being traded from Pacers to the Kings.
Fair
Yeah.
point. Fair point. Oh boy, the Pacers. So
Who are you targeting on the Pacers, though? Who do you think there's like some value to be had, or some, someone that you want to prospect?
Well, Haliburton's pretty much it at this point.
Yeah.
I'm still curious because you've got someone like Reggie Miller. There we go. There's a perfect example of a pacer that was never unhappy and stayed. Do you think the Pacers organization, rather than being a pack of tight asses, to put it lightly, actually, like, if they've got a philosophy as an organization that if someone's not happy to be here, then good riddance? Is that, do you think that that's part of their thinking? Because Sabonis, it was Turner or Sabonis earlier this year, right?
Yeah.
Or earlier in the season, sorry, late last year.
I mean, I think they don't want to lose a star player for nothing. And I think
that's fair.
the Paul George example, I don't think they wanted to. I think he told them he was going to leave. He wasn't coming back. I think in that instance, they were essentially just trying to get something back for him.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
At the end of the day, I think they prospected and they scouted well, and picking up Sabonis for him was excellent.
Yeah.
And then you could probably say the same thing about their drafting. Like they didn't they also draft Kawhi Leonard? I'm sure they drafted him and traded him to the Spurs for the point guard George Hill, and then they also drafted Paul George. So I think
on draft night.
Are you talking about Kawhi Leonard?
Kawhi, yeah,
yeah,
because he was drafted to the Spurs.
I don't think so. I'm almost certain.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even know this about Kawhi.
You fact check this while I'm just like dribbling about the Pacers. So I think honestly, I think these guys are like low key. Somehow they've escaped the media attention of them being basically a team that is just putting money into the owner's pocket instead of spending it on the team. Because honestly, like my current
it's like a money laundering basketball club.
My current comparison for this team is like the 80s and 90s Clippers, where they were just drafting all these, quite good players. Loy Voigt, and as soon as his rookie contract ended, they just let them go and they, moved on to the next run. And,
wow.
I think that you're not wowing my Clippers comparison.
I'm fact checking you, yeah.
Yeah, so talk to me about the fact check. Hit me with it.
All right. So Kawhi Leonard was drafted by the Indiana Pacers.
Yeah. Who was he traded for?
Trying to find out the details of this trade.
Okay, while you keep going with that, I'll keep going with about the Pacers.
Yep.
So I think really low key they've been and also too, they didn't get the media attention because Philadelphia was doing it front and center. Not only did they like have a whole thing about their tanking process, they even gave it a name, like the process. Whereas Indiana have just been doing their thing in the background, and they haven't been spending money on their team. They haven't been in the luxury tax for 17 years.
Yeah.
And really they've let go like huge amounts of talent. I don't know. I'm a little bit salty on Indiana at the moment. I don't like that sort of anti-competitive stuff, like, or at least come out and say it. We don't want to spend money. We just want to get middling players and, do whatever. To answer your question before about prospects, I think Isaiah Jackson is someone that is definitely worth a look.
Yeah.
I need to do more research on this guy. I want to see if he's got rookie cards, because he's the type of player that is sort of so low in the hobby scope that he might not even have a card. So I think he's the type of guy that, you can pick up some college cards of him on the cheap. You can get some autos of him on the cheap. And then when there's no rookie cards of him and he sort of has a bit of a breakout, he's had a couple of good games already.
Yeah.
And then the other one that I really like is Jalen Smith. And I'm still all aboard the Jalen Smith train. I
All
think.
on board?
Yeah, I am because again, he's in Indiana. It's a small team. Yada yada. They'll most likely trade him away, and he'll have a bit more of a breakout. He's still 21 years old. So yeah, I don't think there's no one on the Pacers that you should be looking to collect, but I'm out on Duarte. No matter what anyone tells me, he's too old. He's a 24-year-old rookie. I've
Just
been
not?
I've been burnt so badly with Schofield. I just can't go back there. That's my
Yeah.
lesson. My lesson's been learnt.
It just says traded to the San Antonio Spurs. Oh, wait. Traded Kawhi Leonard on draft night. The Indiana Pacers had the 15th overall pick in the 2011 NBA draft on June 23rd.
Yep.
That pick will always be remembered as the time the Pacers traded George Hill from the San Antonio Spurs for the 15th overall pick, which was, of course, Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah. And my recollection at the time was that it was a lot to do with roster fit for the Pacers.
They wanted George Hill.
They needed a point guard badly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little did they know that the Claw could have done that.
Yeah.
He can do everything.
The last thing we've got in the list for tonight is De'Aaron Fox and his NFT little escapade. Have you read much about this, mate?
I have not read about this. Give us the
So I just want to give you, first of all, my honest bias about NFTs. I'm not all on board with NFTs and I don't really understand it and I'm skeptical of it. So for somebody who's a skeptic and not all on board, when I read this story, I'm just kind of like patting myself on the back, just being like, this is exactly why I didn't buy in. So essentially, De'Aaron Fox started his own NFT. Yep. He went in with a private company. He didn't disclose who that was. However, I'm sure if you were, smart enough to work it out, it would be out there.
Yeah.
He took in $1.3 million US dollars, which is equivalent to 522 ETH, which is the cryptocurrency that they were trading in. And then a few days ago, or it's probably 2 weeks ago now, the whole thing just went completely dark. So his Discord channel went dark, his website went dark, and then the actual NFT was essentially turned off. So he then publicly put out a tweet to say that I want to address an NFT project we launched recently. The project launch was ill-timed. I delegated certain aspects to the launch of the NFT in an attempt to partner with professionals. We weren't happy with the execution and demand on my time and attention during the NBA season. So what's your thoughts on this and where this will end up in 12 months?
I don't know enough about NFTs. I'm reading through this now. I just think it's hilarious.
Yeah. It's comical, isn't it? And I went out for dinner last night and I was talking to a guy about NFTs and crypto. And, I think the key, takeaway from this and my conversation last night was that the money transactions are completely untraceable. And you can't just go back and knock on someone's door and ask for your crypto back. Like, that's literally just not how it works. So
no, because wasn't crypto originally, do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. The part of it is that it can't be traced and, the transactions aren't able to be, refunded back or anything like that. So I think, these people that have put nearly $1.5 million into it, I think that money's completely gone. The thing where I probably struggle from a customer, service perspective is that why didn't he just put it on hold? So keep everything live, just delay, don't deliver any services, don't deliver any promises, just say, look, I'm going to do it in 6 months or I mean, look, what they've got 20 games left in the season. He's not making the playoffs. He's got all off season to, come good on his promises.
Yeah, it's just this virtual everything. Like, it sounds amazing, but there are so many questions that get raised about everything.
Yeah,
and look, you're going to get the Gary V's of the world that come out and say we're it's archaic thinking because we're used to brick and mortar finances and things like that. And you're like, yes, we are, because we grew up with banks and banks have money based on the amount of gold there is. Like there's a reason the economy runs the way the economy runs.
Yeah.
And look, part of me's like really excited for this whole NFT, cryptocurrency, whatever the end product down the line is, the other half of me is terrified. It's just like, hang on, what if someone pulls the plug? Where does it all go? And this is exactly what's happened.
Yeah.
Look, I'd be more confident in taking card investment tips from you and I than betting on crypto at the moment. That's a joke, by the way, for anyone that's going to try and hold us liable. But no, like it's I don't know, like it's very risky, and we're talking some very, very wealthy people taking some very, very big risks. But there are people that don't have a lot of money that are going to take some serious risks and lose a lot. They might become overnight millionaires. That's fine, but yeah,
Well,
I don't know. It's a scary new world, and I'm sure the first person that got a bunch of shares in Google as an employee, the janitor at Google that got shares early on, and is now a very, very retired, wealthy person. Isn't, you know what I mean? Like, luck favors the bold.
Yeah. Look, you do have to take some risk, and I agree with that sort of thought process a little bit. But I think
it's like my Laserdisc collection that I've got.
Oh God,
no, I'm joking. It was like DVDs and like CDs and then Laserdiscs, and Laserdiscs just didn't work.
Yeah.
But then we went to DVD and then Blu-rays.
They were too big, man. Like, what do you need a CD the size of a record for? You know, that's...
Oh, it was like, what is it? What do they call it? Beta? Whatever the...
Beta versus VHS,
Yeah. It's like, oh, beta's going to be fine. No, it's not.
Yeah.
Like, you back the wrong horse, you lose, I guess. But, look, yeah.
So,
buyer beware is all I can say. Is do your research, know what you're getting into.
Sure.
And that's as much as I can really contribute without like causing a whole heap of legal issues for us.
Yeah, look, I mean, I've probably got like two passing thoughts on this. Like, one is this guy doesn't need the money to be stealing $1.3 million. He just got paid $28 million. So that part of it, to me, that's also super weird. It makes me think there's something sort of bigger going on in this space.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is like, okay, so if this has happened to this NFT launch, how many others have gone down in this sort of same, fashion? So maybe you call this a ultra high risk investment. Like in shares, how they say it's a high risk investment. Maybe this NFT launch stuff is like literally the highest risk thing that you can invest into at the moment. So, and maybe that's, the parting lesson of it.
Yeah.
Just like I learned about not buying into rookies that are too old, the takeaway message from this is that this stuff is just so ultra high risk that you pretty much you need to be able to invest the money that you can lose. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just another form of gambling.
Interesting
though. It's watch this space on what happens with NFTs. Like we could be we could be here in 5 years talking about the revolution that is all cards are now NFTs. Or we could be telling jokes about it. Do you remember how everyone thought NFTs were going to be huge?
I hope it's the latter. I really hope that we don't go down this path. I mean,
we'll be talking about the next range of NFTs that we're launching. Hashtag regulate the hobby. Yeah.
Any last thoughts on today's show, mate?
No. I think that's that sort of wraps things up. I think we've kept things under time. We don't have to split this one up, and
I think we'll just be okay.
We'll be all right.
Alrighty. Instagram, youcantcompthis. Twitter, @youcantcompthis. Gmail, youcantcompthis @gmail.com. Facebook, youcantcompthis podcast, and YouTube, because we've recently just been we put last week's episode as a video feed.
That's right.
So thank you, Adam, for doing all your hard work on that, mate. I'm super grateful. Search for You Can't Comp This or check the link in the description.
Yep, it's really simple. And anybody that does want to watch things, listen. Well, you can do both with Twitch. We also stream this on my Twitch channel.
What's your channel, mate?
Which is ads7281.
Okay.
And yeah, it's is that at Twitch or Twit? No, I don't know.
You should know this.
There'll be a link to my channel.
Yeah.
So it's Ads 7281. Because, the more numbers, the merrier.
Can I tell you something even more unbelievable?
What's that?
I'm also on Twitch.
You're also on Twitch?
Well, because remember the first show that I did with you?
Yeah.
Al made me go on Twitch.
Oh, did he really?
Or was that Discord or is that different again?
Discord. Discord's different.
Oh,
we don't have
God.
a Discord yet.
For a second, I was thinking, oh, look at me. I'm so technologically savvy.
No, we definitely don't have a Discord.
And I didn't even know what we're talking about. How embarrassing. I'm going to edit this out.
That's all right. That's all right. What have we got? I've got a Discord. I don't use it anymore. But, yeah, no, it's, twitch.tv /ADZ. How do we pronounce this in Australia? Is it Z or Z?
Depends where you're born, mate.
I say Z, but anyway.
We're in Adelaide or Melbourne.
Z.
Can we just put this into the description? I feel like this is too hard. And no one's going to sit there with a pen, let's be honest.
Yeah, just write ads 7281. You'll be fine. You'll find me. Or you won't, one or the other. And you'll find us on one of the other platforms. While we're there, if anyone... while we're wrapping things up, if anyone is enjoying the show and wants to sort of like leave us a review, I don't know how you do this, but every podcast I listen to wants reviews. So let's see if any of our lovely listeners.
It can be done on Google and it can be done on Spotify.
You can do it on Spotify?
Yeah.
Or Apple. I know Apple do it because everyone asks for 5 stars on Apple.
Yeah.
So we're going to ask for 5 stars on Spotify. It's not out of 10, is it? Because it'd be really silly if we're asking for 5-star reviews when it's a rating of 10. It'd be terrible.
I'm pretty sure it's out of 5.
All right, good.
Now that we're on this track, actually, we probably should thank everybody because we just ticked over 1,000 downloads this week. So
yep. The support has been amazing. Really, really stoked with.
We are grateful.
Yeah, little project we sort of started, and it's just nice to know that we're not just talking to each other, and there's more than one or two of you out there. So it's really humbling, and it's great just to sort of be able to do this and know that we are going to get at least a little bit of feedback on something we really enjoy doing. So yeah,
100%. Cheers, mate. Thanks for a great episode. See you next week.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.